And then next thing I know, I'm getting called up by like my mom, and she's just like cursing me out, telling me like, "All right, we're back again. You
Hello.
ready?" Yeah. So I don't know. What's this third official video that we're planning to make, right?
Yeah.
And
How
today
many of
I've got,
10? No, second actual video.
well, yeah,
Because
second
zero
like official
was
one.
technically
Yeah,
a tester. How many
that's
episode
true.
ones did we go through? Yikes.
I've like stopped counting, but yeah. So today's topic, and I think it's quite interesting, and I believe we both have a lot to say on this one, especially is what if there was one thing you could change about the educational system, right? And before we actually dive into that hypothetical, yeah, could you just share your opinion on the educational system as of right now? What do you think of it?
I think for us being in 2022 now,
Do
actually.
yeah, you got it.
Yeah. Wow. Um, I think there needs to be a very big shift out of the traditional go to school, sit down in class, get spoon fed information, not really do much with it, and then get tested on it in a 1 hour time span where you were essentially forced to regurgitate or spit out every single thing that they told you in the class. I think that there is something wrong with the
So your
fact that we've
opinion
been
is you
doing
don't
this
like it,
for.
or
I think it is grossly outdated for where we are right now as people. Like if we want to move forward as civilizations, we also as a civilization, we need to move our education system forward as well, right? And that's being a kid in this like that's being a person that's grown up in the more recent generations, like we're almost done, like we're midway through uni, you could say, right? You're almost done uni. um
yeah,
and I just feel like there's just such a big lack of skills and um honestly just skills that you just don't learn in school. I think
yeah.
it just
So
doesn't facilitate you to get there.
my opinion, keeping it PG, school is absolute after like seventh or eighth grade. Like there
Mhm.
is no need for the excessive amount of work and degree of like studies they give you for what is actually going to be relevant in A, your career, B, your personal interest, and C, just in general itself. Because I believe like late middle school, early high school is kind of really where you need all these various classes because you want to build a more of solid foundation in case you want to branch into mathematics or you want to go into physics or you want to do something relevant to each of their own, right? But like you said, I think this means of how they like conduct education nowadays and expect even nowadays it's getting younger and younger kids that are like 8 or 9 have a burden that studies wise they shouldn't have until they're more developed individually, right? They have to show more growth first, have the brain development and have the actual individual development, right? So I think with that being said, after like ninth or so, there there is a certain extent to which people should be teaching certain individuals as well. Because I think school, and you can't really blame school. School has to teach a mass amount of individuals, right? You can't just tailor it to each of their own, right? But at
Mhm.
the same time, you can't make one program and say this is the like beginning and end all of what you can really do. Because I don't know, your school probably did it as well, right? Like middle school or so. You could choose subjects that you wanted to do and not, right? Somewhat like university.
So I just want to just rewind a little bit to your point about how schools have to teach essentially to masses, right? You have thousands of students in schools, right?
Correct.
um and I honestly think, and coming back to the main topic at hand, like what would we change if we had the ability to, right? um I think honestly any changes that would have to be made, like and let's think about this realistically before we go off into like complete unrealistic
Complete
like
hypotheticals.
areas.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Um, I think even though we haven't changed a lot, I think um it's a big reason why is because schools have to deal with so many like kids. If they immediately just do an instant shift, there are going to be so many kids left in the in like just limbo.
Yeah, but there's a coin, like there's a different side to every coin, right? With that also being said, there's already so many kids being left in limbo because they don't necessarily excel at studies, but they're more
I agree.
world-wise,
Yeah.
right? Because you get individuals that they would be an absolute flop in school. They could be considered, um, destructive or distracting or on all this, but those people tend to be making the most out of like life later on because they have skills to interact with people. They don't base every daily interaction in the real world on these guidances from school of just being like math this, study this, do this. They kind of know how to speak and act, you know, I guess empathetically, or they just have a high level of emotional intelligence. But also, there's another coin side to this coin, which is a bit odd. Three sides to a coin is,
What kind of coins
you
do
know,
you work
you
with?
there is some like a bit. I don't know, rejects is the word, but there's definitely some people that don't really excel in studying and they wouldn't really be beneficial to be put on a program that would help them worldwide. So I think there's a big contrast between being worldwide and being like a person that's able to study. Wouldn't you argue that?
So, okay, I just want to clarify a couple terms. I think you're meaning, and I think the more common way to say what you're trying to say is street smart versus book smart, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good way of
So
putting it.
when
That's
when
it.
you, when you say world wise, you mean like street smart, like they're better on like dealing with
They're better
how to
doing
deal with other
stuff on the whim.
people. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Right. It's just one thing I wanted to clarify. Um, but since you have such um strong opinions on this topic,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
What
I'm very
is one
biased.
specific thing, right? And going to the main question, right? What is one specific thing that you would change if you had the
Uh,
ability to? And
You
we're talking
know,
about school, not university, just school.
yeah, school
So
itself, yeah.
middle school, high
University is
school.
much more like I feel like for me, university is easier than high school, to be honest.
Mhm.
you know yeah, but if I were to change something now, this is not taking in realistic like repercussions, or like if something were to implement this would have to change or something. This is all
Mhm.
hypotheticals, and if it were to be implemented, I would say after grade 8, grade 7 or so, there would be, rather than you know just continuously going deeper into those subjects that you've been studying for 4 years, right? And learning like calculus 2, calculus 1, depending on like that, or like really intense biology or something. They kind of develop the years after year 8 into different industries, right? They kind of allow everyone to get a taste or specialize somewhat more if they want to in various industries. Like you'd have a management course, or you would have people that are really into science, right? They would have like an environmental like course, and of course it wouldn't just exclude everything and only focus on science, but its primary focus would be preparing those people for real life, rather than just being like, study this book, you're going to be good in life. Because I think that's a common like pitfall with our school system.
So you think that our schooling system's biggest issue is that there isn't a more focused on more of a focus on
Individual
where the
development.
kids will be going forward after
It's a
school,
business.
after
Yeah.
university, right? I would actually
Would you disagree on
I would
that?
actually I wouldn't disagree on it necessarily. I think that you have validity in your point, but I would also kind of steer in a different direction with that. I think that school's biggest point is that it doesn't allow students to effectively pick what they want to go into.
Yeah,
because
that's kind of on the same boat though, right?
it is on the same boat. But like,
Yeah.
okay, you're so young. Like, I think that this is just
Oh,
a
that's
major
another
issue, right?
argument. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've had this.
that's what I'm trying to bring up. That I think you're too young to be like putting your finger down and saying, like, I mean, obviously this doesn't count for every person, but
Hmm.
you're too young to be figuring out, okay, this is exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life, my whole working life. What you get out of school, you get out of university at what, 24, sorry, 23, 22?
Are you saying general? Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
reckon
in
if you're
general,
doing a
right?
bachelor's, yeah.
Yeah, right. Get out of school at 23, 22, and what, you work till 60. So roughly 40 years, you're going to be working in that
Yeah, but it's
one
even
job. Do
Yeah,
you
but
get what I
it's even
mean?
before that. Yeah, but it's even before that because schools account for they got to teach you this and then they're done and it's kind of university, right? Like those memes that come about. It's like, yeah, your university teacher won't let you like do this, and then the university teacher themselves come to class drunker than everyone in the class and still teach. Like, I think that's kind of the contrast between these two things. So I feel like high school doesn't prepare you, and also like you were mentioning, you're 18, 17. Some people graduate at 17, right? Some at 18. We even had that problem. Remember those countless nights that we were just sat there talking about, like, what do we really want to do in life? Because
Yeah,
we're
you went
about to
from
spend
computer science
I
to
went from computer
hotel
science, hotel
management to
industry. Yeah.
business finally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, even during in between that, I did different courses just trying to get out there. And if I didn't do that, or if I didn't have, the capital, like financial ability to be able to do that, I would have never really figured out what I wanted to do, right? Or at least what I think I want to do now. You're a Canadian, right? So you pay less. But if you were an
Yeah,
international
I'm lucky.
student,
Yeah,
you'd be paying your left
I'd be
leg
so screwed.
just for something you would potentially like. Like you're doing an extra year now, right? Like, so
Half of
for
it.
that, if you oh yeah, but say you were to do an year, right? If you were an international student, that's another 200,000 like dirhams or 50K dollars or whatever they pay, right? That that's a copious amount of commitment to something you would potentially do. That's like somewhat of gambling, right? You're 17, 16, 18 whenever you graduate, right? With no tailored experience into an industry you kind of like, because school only teaches you subjects. They don't teach you what you can actually do in life, right? You after high school, especially, you come into contact with so many different jobs that you didn't even know existed. So I feel like high school should take that step after like year 8 or so, right?
Mhm.
And just be like, if you want to go into business, these are like 10 different type of jobs that you could do, right? And then kind of make a course tailored to be general in all of it, right? Just so they can get somewhat of experience in it. Even this, and I think these people are super overrated.
Mhm.
Our student not student council, what is the guy, he's like the you go to he's like a therapist.
Yeah, the counselor.
Yeah, the counselor, most overrated individual. Because
Oh yeah.
my counselor, hey, I tried talking to him once. The next time I almost got suspended. I was like, why
What did you
is there
do?
no like? Because this is when I was like grade 8 or grade 7. I started like a water balloon fight in like the break, right?
Okay.
And so I just told him about it, like just talked to him about it, and then next thing I know, I'm getting called up by like my mom, and she's just like cursing me out, telling me like like parent stuff. But
Yeah.
like the fact that you can't trust your counselor, right? How can you can't trust your counselor and then also expect to take guidance advice from him? In reality, the only guidance they give you is how to stick to school rules. And this is going a little bit off topic. This is a very different thing. But school itself, I think, isn't structured in a way to prepare us for life. And I think a lot of people feel this way as well. It gives us the core skills in certain subjects, but also only to an extent. Because how much do you really use, like, for you, advanced biology, right? You did, right?
To be honest, I think that a lot of the skills that we learn in school help, but
Yeah,
only in
to like
certain
grade 8.
situations. Do you have any like stories of I don't know, inadequacies in like people that you see like working with you in university, like that they just don't have any like general basic skills learned from school that they
Yeah,
should
they don't
have
have
learned?
any human skills. They know
Okay.
kind of how, yeah. they don't know how to really write reports. They don't really know how to, when you're doing a job, how to be there on time. They don't have that
Mhm.
self-discipline. They don't really know how to learn as you go, right? They don't have that ability to be hands-on and learn without having to go back and study and then come back and try again. I feel like their hands-on skills are kind of lacking,
Very much
or
lacking.
right, like,
Mhm.
or I also had this problem with a guy, like he's like 3 years older than me, I think, back then. So he was like 24, no, 23 or something, right?
Mhm.
And he was probably the smartest person I knew, book wise, but he didn't have a clue of anything else in life. And this isn't just in work or career or whatever. This is him as a person. He didn't know how to like do laundry. He didn't know how to clean. He didn't know how to do anything else because all of like his high school and like middle school
Mhm.
was dedicated, and even his university was dedicated doing being the top scholar like in his class. Like, he had to be the
Yeah.
smartest, he had to do this, so he learned nothing else. So I think there's a fine balance, and I think this is in life, right? You need to have a balance.
I actually have a story for you.
Hmm.
For just complete inadequacy, like just straight out of school. So I was working on a project recently in my stats class, and it was a data report where we
Okay.
had to take um, essentially code that we had to write ourselves to come up with graphs and charts, whatever, and prove a point, right?
Hmm.
So we split the group into people that would code and then people that would write the report for people in the group. And
Okay.
I was on the two people that were writing out the code. The point is that um, I finished all my work. My partner that was working on the code finished all his work, right? We had all the actual meat of the project done. Our writers just had to sit down and write it. First off, these guys couldn't get online, right, to get the job done. Okay, ever.
Okay.
It was either one of them was online or the other, or both of them just never showed up, right? So that's
They
the
just said I'm
discipline thing
out.
that you were talking about, right? And then second, when we actually did get to the day, like it was like 1 or 2 days before that it was due, right? These guys just infuriated me because like I had like they completely grew out my patience. Like I sat down with them. I was like, all right, here's what you need to write, because at this point they didn't even write an outline to write the report, right? I had to sit down, write the outline for them, and be like, okay, just write this out and then let's have this done. I'm sitting there for an hour essentially babysitting people that are in their second or third year of university, right? On how to write a report. I lost it at the end. I was just like, all right, just give this over to me. I wrote the entire report essentially. I
No wonder
shit you
you're so
not.
angry,
I
bro.
wrote the entire report, right? I did my own part in the coding, which by the way, I did the majority of that as well, right? But I wrote the entire report just because they lacked the skills to do it, right? And I'd say that that's the problem with the Canadian system, at least that I have observed, right?
Yeah.
That as soon as I got to university here, there were so many students that just didn't know like concepts in math that we went over in school back in Dubai, right? Or just like example that I just gave you, they didn't know how to write reports at
Yeah,
all. They
basic
don't know how
skills.
to
Yeah.
structure an argument. They've never done this before. What are they learning? What are they
I mean,
sitting
we argue a
doing
lot, so I think
all
that's probably why we
day?
got so much experience.
How, right? And it's not like I'm sitting here bragging that, oh, I like did all this and like not for
Oh wow,
anything,
look at
right?
you, smartass.
But okay, but my results like back it up. I got a 92 on that
Yeah,
report.
I mean, yeah, true.
Like they
Congrats.
literally did nothing and they sat around waiting for me to do that. Like but it's
Calm
not
down.
their
You're
fault.
fuming.
But it's
Calm
not their
down.
fault. That's
Breathe.
not, but my point is, Brennan, that it's not their fault, right?
Yeah, yeah.
They physically did not get
They weren't taught
taught
how to
any
do
of
it.
this,
Yeah.
right?
No, I feel what you mean there.
Like
I
that's
feel
the
like,
schooling system in general. Like you're not taught how to do these things. That just proves my point even further. You're missing out on core skills that you'll need to learn.
yeah. No, it proves your point. It backs it. I
Yeah,
agree with
it,
you.
it
Yeah.
backs it,
Yeah.
it backs the point up, right? I feel
Yeah.
like these core skills are what the schooling system should be about. Now, I was like privileged enough to go to an IB school, so I learned all these things, right? But
I mean, that could also be your school itself, right? Or
yeah,
do you
it
have a
could have just
standard?
been my
Yeah.
school itself. But like I'm talking like like a lot of the people, like local Canadian students that came to my uni, right?
Struggle with that.
They lacked all of these skills. In the first year when I met and talked to all these like people, they lacked the skills. Not that they like refused to do any of them. They
They just didn't
just
have it.
complete like
All right,
thing
kind of just
in
rewinding it
info.
to like the main topic of another thing that we changed because I feel like we rambled a little bit on that, right? I want to hear your opinion on this, and I'll share my opinion as well. The school timings of from almost 6 a.m. to like 5. I think it's changed recently, though. To be fair, has it?
Now, I'm no expert when it comes to timings,
Mhm.
but when I was in school, hated waking up in the morning, right?
Yeah, but I think they kind of built that on when your parents work, right?
I mean, it's a good point, right? But there are a lot of students that take the bus. Um, but okay,
Do you think it
the
would need to be shorter? Uh,
shorter, I don't know about shorter. I think the length is fine. What, seven
you
hours in
think
the day?
that was like 8 hours a day, bro, and then like only an hour of lunch?
I
Do you
mean,
even work that much now in uni? No, we
no, I
don't.
don't work that much now
Yeah,
in university, is
yeah,
purely like lectures and whatnot. But
yeah. But I also feel like kids of 16, 17, especially me, right? I don't have the attention span to sit there for 8 hours and learn, especially now with how digital is affecting us as well. You think I could sit there for 8 hours learning math, science, English, like all in one class, in one day? Sorry, you got me some different type of up, bro. Like there ain't no way nowadays.
like, okay, we've been conditioned since we were kids to like sit around at that 7 to 8 hour like schedule. Honestly, I get your point that attention spans and everything are a thing, but I'm only coming up with counter arguments to that point, that so that the school day should be shorter, right? I think the school day's length is fine. I think starting a little bit later in the day would be a little bit better, right? But the reason why I say like I have counter arguments to that is that a lot of the courses that we were taking, we were like short on time a lot of the time. Do you know? Like
But that's
we
because there's too much
physically
work.
couldn't get to like, okay, say if a lot of students had a lot of questions that needed clarifying, like we miss out on whole topics. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Or some topics would take like 4 months rather than just like two.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you like,
There's inadequate planning from the staff themselves, right? From the school system.
but there's also a lot of content. I think, and
Yeah, there's
okay,
copious. I remember like 12 different like topics in one class for like 4 years, and then they expect me to remember like 20. I'm like, yeah, what? I don't really know. That's kind of my opinions. I'm not trying to discredit school either, right? I don't say we should live in a society without school. School has its benefits. I just think there's better means going about it, right? And there's better means they could go about it. And
there's a lot that I would change about school, but there's also the fact that I understand why those things haven't been changed. Like there are, for everything that you want to change in a school, right? There's like 10 different reasons why
reason,
you can't.
uh,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, and we're talking from the perspective of students, right? We can't necessarily say what's happening on the perspective of teachers because again, they're humans.
but I would say, right, this is our kind of conclusion. I think we've shared our thought. And if we really wanted to, we'd ramble about this 24/7. And I don't think that would be as entertaining as just, having said what we said, and like that's kind of it. So yeah, so drop a like, click the subscribe button, share what your thoughts were if you thought anything, or if you thought we were just being stupid and arrogant, just get involved in here. And yeah,
Yep.
that's me.
Hit us up on our Instagram, and don't forget to drop a like if you like the video, and we'll see you
Yeah.
guys next time.
See you.